All right, folks. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm doing something a little bit different with that intro video, so I can't hear the music. I hope that sounded okay, but it saves me a little bit of trouble on my side. So I hope that looked just as good and just as pleasing as usual. Anyway, we are here to talk about, not my opening intro video, but the ACA-420, the Jira Service Management Project professional exam offered by Atlassian. Today we're going to cover two topics that are getting near the end of our studying, actually. We've got the configuring the customer portal and configuring for IT Service Management, or ITSM. So when you see that acronym, that's what it's referring to. We'll get quite a bit hands-on today. I'll start with the usual slides just to get us oriented, but then we'll just jump in and see what it's like using the system. Justin, good morning. Motor City, glad to have you here. I'm Rob. I've been using Jira for about 10 years, and I'm doing these training sessions, if you haven't been in one of these before, because I haven't been able to make the time in my life outside of this. And I started the first session as a commitment device, it's called, to force me to study. Now, another commitment device I have used is I have scheduled the exam for, I think it's May 14th. And I found that if I don't do that, I don't actually do the exam and I don't study. So if anyone out there is looking at taking this exam but is kind of on the fence or doesn't really know, I'll encourage you to just go schedule the exam in a month or two. I find giving myself 4 to 6 weeks is enough time to really ramp up studying, but also enough time that I don't feel too anxious about the timeline. I'll talk more about my thoughts about prepping towards the end of this. Cassandra, welcome back from West Virginia. Melis, I'm probably mispronouncing that. Welcome from Turkey. Jitten, welcome from India. Apologies on the name. Susie, good to see you again. Atlassian Community Champions, yes. So, quick aside, Atlassian has this wonderful online community. There are people called Community Champions, and they organize events. I am one of them. I organize online events. So if you see that term, that's what that is. Many of you have already found the chat. Please use that. These study sessions are not just going to be Rob talking to you. That can be a way to use these. I'll encourage you to be active in the chat, to talk and chat with other participants. Because one, I don't know absolutely everything about Jira, and I've seen some great back and forth and great interaction between people answering questions, sharing ideas, helping each other out. So please use the chat. We also have a Discord community. And Discord is a chat server. Wow, welcome, another champion. Glad you're here. Discord's a chat platform where people have been chatting and connecting in between these sessions. So please jump into Discord if you like. You can join us there as well. Of course, please like and subscribe. That helps me, lets me know what you like. And I do have a little survey coming up where I'll need some of your help. But please use that chat. That's the big thing. These are also all recorded, so you can always come back and watch these later or share them with teammates. As I mentioned, we're going to be talking about ITSM projects or IT Service Management. Curious if anyone in here does a lot of ITSM. Or is your role ITSM heavy? And we'll also talk about configuring the customer portal. Of these, the second one, configuring the portal, is more universal. And I say that because most service management platforms, JSM groups I've worked with, will collect tickets. Not all of them are necessarily using ITSM ideas or principles. Justin, I was setting you up there. I have one last voucher to give away, and I'll give it away probably towards the end of this session because you have to use it by June 1st. That lines up pretty well with a 6-week timeline in terms of taking the exam. Otherwise, the exam is $250 or $249.99, I think. If you work at a company that has some kind of learning budget, that can usually be used for professional certifications. So if you want to take the exam, it's definitely worth talking to your organization. Atlassian may even have some letters you can give them or something to help them out. But if you want to take the exam on your own, this free voucher can be very helpful. Cassandra uses it, but still try to figure out what it means. I'm in the same boat. Victoria, welcome and happy Monday. Susie, you do all the work under the hood. Yes. So you're probably very familiar with some of these ideas and concepts. I'll leave this up for just another minute, and then I'll go find the form and just see, where did it go? I had over 100 folks jump in, which was great to see. The next thing I need your help with is what exam should we do next? I made this a 2-question exam, both for the ACP and ACA, but basically we'll be wrapping this up towards the end of May. I'll have a review session, I think it's May 29th, for the ACP-420, and then we'll move on to another professional level certification. So please give me your feedback, use this QR code, and I'll drop the link in the chat, just so I can get your thoughts on where we should go next. Now, I could pick one, but if the group has a very big leaning in one way or the other, it'd be very helpful to know what you want. Oop, and that's the end of my slides. Perfect. I'm just popping over to Atlassian Learning right here. Atlassian Learning. And this is what I've been basing my studying off of. I do this because Atlassian is the company that makes these products. They have great learning material, and they actually built their own LMS learning management platform, which to me is very cool. Many companies just get something off the shelf and it only kind of works. What I'm looking for is become an effective Jira Service Management project admin. And we're going to start with the portal, and that's under Config Atlassian Tools for Effective Service Management. Now, I highly recommend if you want to sit the exam, go through all of these. We've covered most of them. They did change the exam in the middle of our studying, which made things kind of fun and interesting and terrifying. But this has been updated. Now, the one thing this may not have is the new UI. So I will be trying to use the new UI just so I get used to it. If you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend trying it out. Now, it's in a beta period right now. I'll drop a video explaining a lot of stuff about it, but it confuses me just because things are in a different spot. So check out that video if you're using the new UI or are curious. I don't know when they'll deploy it for everyone, but we're all going to be stuck with it at some point. So please become familiar with it. Justin, why the honestly, I like the new UI. As we get into it, I'll explain why. If you are an admin, also start thinking through how you can help out your team get used to it. I'm putting together like a 1-page document you can share with your teams, just explaining the major differences. But what we don't want to happen as admins is for this change to go live and then for everyone to panic because everything changes. Yeah, stuff like that usually isn't on the exam, but we aren't just administering the system, we're helping the people use it. So anytime you know about a big change coming, like a new UI, make sure your team is prepared. Have a study session, have an ask me anything about it, have videos, send them my YouTube link just so they have something. Oh no. I haven't noticed that, Justin, but I haven't been looking for what I call like accessibility. I've been looking at mainly where do I find everything, and I've actually lost a few menu items that I had to go dig for, and I'll show you what I've learned here. We're going to jump in with a portal, and the portal is where customers usually first interact with Jira. So this is the new UI. You'll notice up at the top is just a giant search bar now. And then on the left, I've got all the menu items. So that's the biggest change. Look left, not up. You can collapse it. So I like this. It makes the screen a bit cleaner. And then if you mouse over, it comes back. I'll pick a project. Is Jquill? I'm in Confluence, excuse me. Ignore all that. There we go. It's the same. Search bar at the top, menu items on the left. Starred spaces will bubble to the top, or projects. Project settings now live under this 3 dots, and that took me a good 5 minutes to find. It was very non-intuitive. And then when you expand the project in a software project, you'll get the boards. And let me go find... Here we go. In a JSM project, you'll get all of the other settings. Again, project settings still lives under this 3 dots. But everything else is here. Now, way down at the bottom, there's a More menu. And you can customize the sidebar. This, for me, is the most useful bit. I can get rid of stuff that I don't want to see, and this is unique per user. The challenge is, as an admin, I can't force out like a standard default. Everyone just has to know how to do this. Chad, how could you forget about me? The left is too cluttered. I don't necessarily disagree. We can, of course, get rid of it. The counter argument I would make, Justin, is now the top is less cluttered and the search bar is easily findable. So, like, you can actually provide feedback. If you turn this on to test and turn it off, they'll ask for feedback. So definitely worth putting the accessibility stuff in there, Justin. We will be stuck with something like this, though. So unfortunately, I don't know there's much we can do. But for the rest of this, I'll be using the new navigation just so I get used to it and so you all can see it. I don't believe the new nav is on the exam, and I say that because the new nav wasn't live. Also, the exam isn't going to really be about where on the screen does the project button show up. However, practically, we need to know this. I was talking about the portal, though. So it's always visible under channels, and honestly, this is typically where I go to find the portal. I don't bookmark it. I probably should. And this is the portal for that one project. Now, there is an overall help center, and this shows every portal in your organization. I typically have not worked at companies that use this. Typically, I work at groups that will send you straight to the individual project portal. That said, many organizations will have this overall, top level of the help center. And this is where it's important. You'll notice some of these have nice icons and a description, and some maybe need some better descriptions like this one that I made. So please take time to customize these and give them names. Excuse me. So it's easy for folks to figure out what they are. Ooh, branding our portal. So terminology, again, these terms are important and you will hear me trip up and use the wrong one. The Help Center is the overall website and the portal is where they go for specific projects. So this is the Help Center, the overall thing. And you'll notice as I type, it's giving me information. It's both giving me Confluence pages, but also portals and request forms that relate to what I'm searching. So trying to guide the customer if they don't quite know where they go. All of this is dependent on our setup and making sure we're using the right keywords and other things. I'm glad I'm not the only person, Justin. Oh no, I'm chopping off your message. I'm sorry. Let me. Oops, wrong one. There we go. Whew, saved it. I'm glad I'm not the only person. I always feel a bit silly because I know there's the help center and I've never really used it. It's just a feature I haven't happened to use. So curious if folks out there have used this overall help center. This infographic, is interesting. Just think top levels help center. In the middle, you've got portals, and those portals will have either knowledge base articles or request types to help people out. Anytime I see these blue bars, it's just something to keep in the back of my mind on the exam. Customer portal and portal are the same, and portals could also be called a service desk. Customer portal and portal are the same in service desk. Got it. So that means this would be also called a service desk, this thing. Cassandra, you set up 3 different help centers. Just to clarify, Cassandra, the help center is the top level of this. So does that mean you have 3 Jira Service Management instances? I could see them having multiple portals, and that can be challenging. All right, customizing it. Need to know the level, what we can do here. Overall, admins can do branding and announcements for sure. Wow, 3 separate sites all around Jira Service Management. I've heard of groups will have 2 if there's like a super sensitive thing, or they have one that's external facing and one that's internal if they're big enough. 3 seems excessive because you have now 3 entirely separate instances. So curious if there's anything you are able to share about that and why they decided to do that. Project admins can brand the portal and the announcement. So Jira admins can do overall branding on pretty much anything. Project admins, though, are limited to just their projects. And then agents can add announcements if they're allowed to. And so if we go to look at our help center, at the top level, the project admin can help out. And I'm going to go into my project settings, open up channels and self-service, and then under portal, I've got all of the settings. Here's that URL that I'll copy. The name and description, these are defaulted. We really should improve these. But we can add our logo. So if you have a logo, I highly recommend adding one, even if it's just kind of a stock, basic, generic thing. And then way at the bottom, we've got managing announcements. Announcements are a banner that can pop up at the top of the portal just to let folks know if something's going. Dagny, I hope I'm saying your name right. That is not a stupid question, my friend. This is the 13th in a series. I will drop a link to the entire playlist that should have all 13 in there. There might be more than 13 videos in the playlist because I've added some other things. But these are all separate topics and things and videos we're getting into. So each one will have different content. But appreciate your question and welcome. So down at the bottom is where we can change if agents can also do announcements. I haven't really used announcements. It shows up under customize when you're on the portal. And it's basically just a bar you can put up at the top. You're very welcome. Theoretically, these are useful for making sure folks know, hey, there's an outage. And so then at the top of the portal, this, a message can appear. You might link to it. The intention is if someone comes to put in a ticket, they'll see that, and then they won't put in the ticket knowing that something's wrong. So agents can't do that unless you let them, but project admins and Jira admins can. Customizing the help center. Settings and oops. Let me get rid of that. Go to my little gear. Go into products. I've never actually been in here before. Oh, configuration. Okay. Come here. Ah. So this would be site-wide setup. Tanya uses them to not put in tickets. Yes. Scott mostly for outages. Yeah. Victoria uses it more extensively. All right. I think my challenge with the announcements is they're just up at the top. And so it could be easy for folks to miss them, but honestly, I haven't used them too much. So I'll have to go figure that out. Here we go. View and manage all help centers. And here's where agents by default can do announcements. So I'll open up the help centers. Oh, look at that. Oh, we can actually make a whole new help center. Interesting. You'll hear me say quite a bit, if one person learns something from these, that is a success for me. I've just learned something. I didn't know I could set up different help centers. So this might be what's actually going on. I think it was Cassandra who had 3. Wait, where'd it go? View all help centers. Isn't this just the same? I might be going insane. Ah, there we go. All right, so it looks like we can set up different help centers. I want you to. Interesting. But on the right here, I can do my branding. I can rename it. I can have my logo. I can change banner images. Anytime we have a few minutes to update things for look and feel, I always recommend taking the time. And I say that because our customers will come there, and if it looks and feels like everything else in our organization, it's more likely they're going to use it. They're going to engage with it. They're going to know they're in a good spot. Kari, do you mean portals or help centers? Because those are different. And I'm gonna nitpick the terminology, because on the exam, if we're asked about portals, that's a different thing than a help center. We can add different messages to it or announcements. It would probably help if I watched this whole video. But another call out, only Jira admins can customize the help center. So in my experience, I haven't used or been able to do this because I've never been the Jira admin. I've been, I'll say, only a project admin. This is a really complex idea, Justin. Let me try to unpack it. You use forms for request types and add information boxes on the request incident form to provide specific announcements. Oh, so it sounds like you don't use announcements on the portal. You use the form on a request type to flag information for people. I'd be curious if you could share an example, maybe in Discord or somewhere else. I'd love to see how you do that. All right. Getting requests. Requests in the portal are pretty straightforward. And this is something you all have probably done. People come in and they just fill out the request form. And they're guided by the setup that we've done on the back end. Now, this is something we again need to consider is access. Who can enter things? By default, and anytime I see default when I think about the exam, I'll always want to keep this in mind. Only people with an account can raise requests through emails or the portal. So that means folks who don't have a customer account can't do that. So external customers might be blocked. We can change that. However, when I think of the out-of-the-box configuration, usually the exam's going to ask questions around that, or it's going to ask how to change that. So I just need to know about it. Email requests. They all come with a pre-configured email, which is nice. But you can link to custom emails. This is something, it might be help@jquill.com instead of whatever Atlassian gives us. So while I think it's really nice that we get our own out-of-the-box. I'm going back into my project. And if I zoom in, I can see this is the email you actually could all send to. And this would start generating tickets if it's set up. So we all get one of these. And from here, I can also see, what's the request type that it automatically jumps into? What are the logs? Nothing has come in. And can I edit it at all? I can control the address. So I might say, jquill help instead of just JJ. And then I can change the request type that it drops into. So typically I leave this as emailed request. Email is non-ideal because all we'll get is like the summary, the description, and attachments, unless you have some kind of add-on that does other things. But email is a great way to take in things. Just be aware your agents will have to do a bit extra work updating them. Choose a request type. Oh, here we go. Another big call out. Again, with our team managed versus company managed projects, we can't choose a request type in team managed. It's just going to be email. I can't think of a good reason why Atlassian limits us to that other than it's simple and it's straightforward. But just something that we'll probably need to know and might pop into the exam. For example, if a question says, Rob emails in a ticket and it drops into the system access request type, that immediately tells me I'm in a customer managed project. Sorry, Kari. Yes, I imagine you have multiple help centers, and each help center has some combination of portals. That combination of portals may or may not overlap. Yeah. Configuring customer notifications. Please, team, let me know if I'm going a bit too fast. I want to make sure we can get through the ITSM stuff, and we're just starting to get there. And also, if you haven't, please hit that like and subscribe button. I find it very helpful. Thank you. In Jira Service Management, we can configure notifications for agents, but also for customers. The out-of-the-box ones aren't bad. I'm going to go into Jira and just show you where they live. So I'm in my, my project settings. I'm just going to look for notifications. And I've got a customer notification. Now, I typically don't mess with these too much, these settings at the top. What I will go down and I will go mess with the notifications at the bottom. Now, I tend to leave them all on because I want these all to fire. You might have a good reason to turn them off. For example, maybe you don't want to email someone when a comment is edited. What I do recommend is go in and edit the actual notification. So if you click that edit button, you can change a lot about it to make it look and feel better. Again, the default isn't bad, but I'm sure you can make it better. Also, curious if anyone knows who these people are. Listed in the shared. And they're like right here at the bottom. Now, this does take a bit of time, and it is project specific. So what you can do is just copy and paste the text between projects, but making time to update the customer notifications can be very helpful because folks will know that they're in the right spot, and that's very useful. I typically do things like insert a variable of the request URL, so when they get the email, they know exactly where to go. Like I beat them over the head with it. You'll notice at the bottom in the template, there's a view request button. I find folks can miss that. So I'll say, please make sure you respond to this request with then a variable link to that specific request URL. That'll force them to go to the right spot. And then templates. I'll go back one. I'm just looking at the templates. Come on. This to me is scary because it looks like computer code. But this is the stuff around the template. Or sorry, the stuff around the notification. So if you notice in the bottom, the content of the notification appears here, but then the stuff under it and over that is what we're controlling. So this shows up on each of them. So if your company has specific branding or specific things you want to add, this is where you can do that. Now, CSS and HTML are the two technologies used to do this. I know enough about these to kind of know I shouldn't mess with them too much. So I go to ChatGPT or I find someone in my organization to help me figure out what should this be. And then I just tinker with it until I get it to work. But that said, customizing these things is important because it gives us a consistent experience and it lets us control exactly what things look like. So our customers know they're in the right spot. And then last thing we have are forms. In my mind, forms are a way to get around the inability to make new fields unless you're a Jira admin. There's something else you can attach to. Justin, no problem. Glad you're here. You can always catch the recording, and I hope to see you again soon. And I hope you win the meeting, whatever that means. Forms let us collect additional information from the ticket without having to add additional fields. So it's kind of a sneaky way to collect more. And I'm sure there's more uses. I personally haven't used them all that much. I mainly use them in human resources or HR tickets to get things going. I'm just curious out there, who uses forms? Victoria, yes, I'm pretty sure those are all characters from Star Wars. The default at the bottom of the notification. Again, important terminology. A request type is the category of request. A form is a tool within request types to get more info. So a form can't exist outside of the request type. I'll just go in and show you how to generate these things. Request management. Forms. Yay. So under request management, we've got forms. As you can see, I have none. I'll use a template just to speed us up a little. But we've got some good ones here. Maybe building access. Now, what I like about the form is the editor is kind of like Confluence. I've got some more options at the top for making it look and feel. Ooh, there's a translate request. Huh, this I like. I've had a lot of people ask, how do we translate Confluence pages? At least I found out how to translate forms. Now, this form can be reused on multiple request types. So I would go through, and I've literally just taken a PDF and I've rebuilt it in the form so it looks identical to the paper. For complex tickets from Tonya, Kari uses lots of forms. Big on using forms to help guide users. How many is a zillion? I forget where that number comes from. But within here, each of these are different fields on the form that we can then go in and collect information about. Now, again, this is a templated one, but I can add fields, and you'll see I have a ton of options. And a lot of these options are similar to or exceed what I can do on a request type or on an issue type or work item type, sorry. So this gives me a lot of flexibility as a project admin or a Jira admin to go build out the exact experience I want to collect information. Certainly worth looking at, and definitely check out those templates. It's something I haven't done enough of. I just need to understand it more. And you can, of course, make them from scratch. Again, I will take a physical piece of paper, like a PDF that I've printed off, and I'll rebuild the form in a Jira form so it looks the same so my team doesn't freak out too much. Important call out, again, for the exam. Forms, it can be edited, but they don't change existing forms. Once the form has been saved to a work item, it's kind of just saved, it's locked in. The term is stamping a field. It's been stamped, can't change it. So edits won't change existing forms that have been filled out. And then we can attach them to specific request types. So going back to Jira, oops, I need to save my beautiful form. If I open up a request type, where are my forms? Here we go. Right at the bottom under request form, I can now attach a form. And so I'll see that form show up. I can't edit the form directly from here. It's not like changing these fields. I can click edit to go back to that editor and modify it if I need to. But that's how I can attach the form. And again, this is how I, as a non-Jira admin, can add new fields or solicit new information in a company-managed project. So it's a great way to get more information and to guide the process because I can include more information. And we can also add them to open requests, which is kind of cool. Great call out from Tonya. Forms aren't automatically expanded. So when I have a ticket, it's going to show up. Let me see if I can put one in here right quick. And thank you for calling that out, my friend. Excuse me. Go away, search bar. Thank you. Create. This one that I put it on? Where did I put it? Account help. Aha. So back to my help center, my customer portal, open up account help. Now on entry, it's expanded. Test. I'm just going to fill in the required fields just to make this go in. Awesome. Open this thing up. So this is what I believe Tonya is referring to. All of the fields exist, but you'll notice there's a form right here. Did my Zoom break? My Zoom broke. Well, fine. It says submitted, but I have to click on it to see it. So for my agents, they need to know, hey, go look at the form and make sure. Oh, interesting. Cool. Go look at the form and make sure you expand it to see that information, because by default, it'll show as collapsed or hidden. All right. I'm going to pop over to our next chunk. Please drop questions you've got on the portal, though. Again, I just want to make sure we can get through the ITSM stuff today, or at least take a good chunk out of it. This is under configuring for our team's goals, and this will pull in a lot of information we've already learned and apply it potentially in a different way. The first section here is about what is ITSM. This is like, I consider this domain knowledge that's important for us as admins to have, so we can understand the context of why people want to do things. You know, stuff like this can show up on the exam, or questions around it will show up. Yes. Tonya, do you happen to have the request ID? We could all go upvote it real quick. If not, I'll see if I can go search for it. Or maybe a way to default it or something, yeah. ITSM is how IT teams work. It includes everything and supporting IT services. So basically, when you think excuse me, of an information technology help desk, it's everything they do to support their customers and organization. Everything from giving hardware to maintaining desktops to resetting passwords. These principles are probably important to keep in mind. I wouldn't say memorize them word for word, but you want to just understand what they're trying to do, collecting feedback to improve, establishing a good vision, and standardizing services. Now, each of these helps the team. You get feedback from the customer, and this could be in the form of those 5-star ratings. We might get a CSAT, customer satisfaction. But you also want to figure out, what do they want? What is of value to the customer? Is it fast response times? Is it a certain type of hardware? Is it it's more self-service. Because if you can identify that, you can then give them what they want. Having a clear vision about what the team should do is helpful. And this is where it's typically leadership on an IT team will figure this out, but it gives a team direction. What do we as a team want to do? Where do we want to go? And then standardizing services, making sure that everyone knows here's what you get when you go to the help desk, or here is the kind of technology we have available to everybody. A quick example of how it can go through everything from a request going in. Again, please take time to go through these again and make sure you understand them, especially if your background is not on the ITSM side of the house. Benefits of ITSM, like with anything, having a good structure and process in place helps improve everything. It lets the team do things like track metrics, ensure they're being held accountable to what they've agreed upon, improving budget utilization. For me, it's putting process and structure around IT. And just like we put process and structure around building a building or our software engineers or our finance team, that process and structure will help us do things better. Now, that process and structure needs to be expressed somehow in Jira, because that's the tool we're talking about. And one of those ways is to organize our work. So how do we organize our projects and everything? Susie, welcome. Glad you're here. Hope you have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Ooh, Ganondorf. Gandalf. Am I saying that right? Gandalf. All right, work categories, group features by different uses. All right, problem management. Excuse me, has different features related to problem management. So these are different ways of grouping the features and things we use. And we'll jump into Jira in a minute, and we'll jump into Jira right now and take a look at this. Actually, are they showing? Good. Okay. In this screenshot, they're showing the new UI, so I wasn't sure if they would have those. They do. That makes me happy. In my project settings under features, I can see service management request, incident management request. There's a problem management. So these are all these different feature sets that they're talking about. And if we expand these, we can see a little bit more about them. But these are combinations of features that Atlassian thinks are useful for these things. So you'll notice if I close service request management, it does something on the left there. It gets rid of, under my request types, my service management, or my service requests. Naveen, by expand, are you referring to adding and changing fields on the form, or by clicking that little box that opens the form up so people can read it? So these are different work categories. Again, they're collections of features, so you don't have to tick off multiple things. They also want us to be doing things like categorizing requests into portal groups. So when we think of our request types, they're actually not in here. There we go. Under unassigned, I can look under portal groupings. And I have a general group, an account help group, and a hidden from portal. And I can see in this column which portal groups they belong to. Yes, thank you. Now under my actions, I can edit the portal groups they show in. And one thing that confused me is request types can appear in multiple groups. So you may have the same exact request type show up in different spots in your project. And that can actually help folks find the right thing. They might not realize, oh, I should have gone to this other group. So instead, you can just put it in both and make sure you help them out. But grouping it into like logical groupings, and here we can see logins and accounts as one, computers and common requests, is a way to help our customers and help our team because it helps ensure that the ticket ends up in the right spot. Excuse me. They also talk about our queues. We spoke about these a couple sessions ago. I need to get out of project settings, I think, open up my project, and then I have my queues. Now these we want to set up to support our team and how they work. So for example, if they have a high priority queue, and I'm sorry I can't zoom in for some reason. Actually, let me try something real quick. Nope, that didn't fix it either. Set up our queues so our agents know where to go to find work. What should they be focusing on? And queues let us guide them by showing them tickets that are in those buckets. And the queues you create will depend on your team's needs. Many groups have one for executives, have a different one for high priority, have a different one by region. I work with a group right now that does North America, South America, and Europe as one queue, and then Asia and Oceania or Australia, New Zealand as a separate queue. And then agents know, hey, when I'm online, I should look at this one or that one. It reduces the amount of time it takes them to go find work and to accomplish it. Configuring workflows. So again, this depends on your team's needs, but when we think of ITSM, certain workflows may make more or less sense. We typically see approvals show up in ITSM. Rob has requested a new laptop. Is this okay? Rob's manager. And then Rob's manager can say yes or no. Or maybe Rob's manager approved it and then finance has to approve it. And so we set up the workflow to support that process. Like any workflow, though, you need to understand the process before the system can help you automate it. So it's more important to take time with your customers to figure out their needs or the process than it is to go build the thing in Jira. Automatic approvals, excuse me, can be done. And then automatics, excuse me, automations. I think we spoke about automations 2 weeks ago. But they can do things like auto-assign tickets to the right person. I use this one a lot for, it's called load balancing, making sure everyone has roughly the same number of tickets. You can also use it to notify folks, so send emails or other notifications, but then also update tickets. Again, super high-level examples. But as admins, we need to understand that automations are a great way to help the team out and get rid of some of that busy work. But also we need to engage with the team and go talk to them and say, hey, what are the things that you find annoying? What can I automate away? So it still gets done, but you don't have to do it. Notifications and on-call rotations. All right, so notifications, these notification rules, if we go back to our project, show up under project settings. And they're in the same spot as those customer notifications we saw way at the bottom, except we're looking at internal notifications. You'll notice this looks a bit different, and that's because this is a notification scheme. So looking up at the top, I can see it's the default scheme and 26 different projects share it. So I would have to work with my Jira admin, me in this case, to make changes. So I might come over here and edit them. Or I might even figure out, hey, I need a different notification scheme that needs to happen. And here I can see who they go to. So when an issue is created, it goes to these people. And I have the option to change this behavior. Or I can add to this group. And in the notification scheme, I can do things like add a group of people. So maybe I have a group called approvers that would be added to this for some reason. Or maybe I have a role within the project who should get that. And I have a specific project role that my admin has set up that lets me route notifications to those groups. So notifications are something we tend to forget about. People just complain that their email blows up with too many notifications. But we as admins can come in here and actually change the behavior of these notifications so the team gets the right information when they need it. Now, this is beyond what automations can do. So there's a notifications feature, but automations can also send an email or a comment or something out of them above and beyond what the notification can do. Oh, I hope it was your supreme victory, Justin, that resulted in ending and not your utter defeat. But welcome back, my friend. On-call rotations, I have not used this at all. So we're going to go try and dig into this. Where does this live? Well, let's go to Jira. Why am I looking at this page? Okay. On-call. Let's all watch Rob fumble in Jira. Operations? Nope. I find it odd that they mention this, but they don't tell us what to do. I will have to go learn about this. What did I learn? That I have to go learn about on-call rotations. All right, improving the customer experience. This kind of ties into the portal, which is why I was talking about it. Oh, poor old Ops Genie. Is Ops Genie in here? Is it even turned on in here? Let's see. I wonder if it's under my features. On call. That's why. It's a feature. I found it, everyone. It seems like it needs to be explicitly turned on, which they haven't necessarily called out. Operations menu had services. Now it also has an on-call link. I had to go turn this on. I'm going to say for the purpose of this exam, just be aware this exists. I'll go see if I can find more information. Oh, gotcha, Kari. We spoke a bit about the portal. Again, that's why I did these two things together. Make sure you're updating your portal. Give it a good name. Give it a good logo and all that. Take email ingestion, but just make sure your team knows how to triage them. I find emails tend to get messy because folks just slam in a quick message and they don't think through what information do I need to give. And that's where a bit of friction is good. Having to go fill out a form or respond to questions so you give us what you need to get help is very important. And email dodges all that because it's just an email. We can also tie into Slack, and this is something I use quite a bit. I use automations to update people on like high priority tickets, but also to collect issues. So if you're using Slack, I think Teams also has one. And there's other add-ons for other chat platforms to pull in tickets and information. Configuring streams and forms. Our knowledge base, there was a whole 45 minutes on that one. I try to avoid it, Justin, but frequently there's an executive who says, no, you must do it. And then I go, okay, this is going to be a train wreck. And we end up with a train wreck. Ooh, the customer survey. This one shows up. I find this is only very helpful at scale when I have lots of things, getting a lot of information. I turn it on. It's this 5-star question that shows up. Maybe 10% of people fill it out. So it is good feedback, but you have to review it, and you also have to take it in the aggregate. So one bad review doesn't necessarily mean that's a bad agent or a problem, but you should always investigate them to see how you can improve. And then our SLAs. All right. Yeah, have someone handle submission for them. I think you're referring to executives here. Yeah. It's less the executives want to email it in, Justin, and more the executive thinks that that's the best way to do it. And so it's a lot, in that case, my role as the admin is a lot of education, is a lot of convincing this person like, no. You need to, what is it, May 6th? May 4th? What is the next Monday? Convince that person like, actually, that's a terrible idea, Mr. Mrs., executive person. Instead, please use the form. I was close. May the 5th. May the 5th be with us. Okay. I said I would pick someone randomly to win a certification voucher. Let me go find my giant list of emails. Shockingly, a lot of you want a free certification. This person. Ooh. I'm not going to put the email in the chat, but someone with an email of starts with Rati. You have won a free certification voucher. Congratulations, my friend. I will send them an email letting them know. That'll let them sign up for the exam for free, which is pretty cool. Otherwise, a couple other thoughts on the exam. Fingers crossed, Justin. Fingers crossed. I mentioned, all of this learning is good stuff. More knowledge is always helpful when we use Jira. So even if you don't want to take the exam, you're still getting a lot out of this, I hope. If you want to take the exam, though, check with your company. Many organizations will have a budget for professional development and will pay for you to go sit the exam. So it's possible your organization has that. Congrats to the individual, bummer to the group. So you can go talk to your manager, go talk, if you have a learning team, ask about this. But many organizations I've worked at have covered the cost of my certification because it helps the company out. It makes me a stronger admin in this case, which makes me more valuable and useful to the organization. So that's definitely something. I will eventually put together a one-pager, and Atlassian may have one of these explaining the benefits of certification. Sometimes managers need to be sold in, but that can be a great route. Scott, is there an ACA-420 session 14? There should be. I'm just quickly going to YouTube. Did I skip 14, I guess is a better question. There's one next week. It's going to be incident management. There's one the week after service management, then assets, and then we're done. We're doing our final review at the end of the month. So I'll be wrapping up 420. Oh, it goes from 13 to 15. Okay, so thank you for calling that out, Scott. Victoria, enjoy and good luck. Great to see you. I put all these in over the weekend. I had both my kids, so I was trying to juggle all that, and I was pretty sure I would miss a number. I will go through and try and straighten that out. There is one session every week now until the end of May. I will fix the numbering. But please sign up for those. Of course, they'll be recorded. You can go through the whole thing. And again, I do need y'all's help figuring out what the next exam we're going to do is. For that, I've put together just a pretty quick survey, just in Google Sheets. It asks you a couple of questions. You are not Scott. You are not missing one. Please take a moment and respond to that. I'll use this to figure out what do we all study next, and what's the next ACP level, but also the next ACA level. So your feedback would be very helpful there. Of course, I could pick one, but if everyone's got a specific topic or one they want, I'd much rather do that to make sure you get something you need out of it. The exam, again, I mentioned I've selected like May 14th to take it. I give myself 4 or 5 or 6 weeks between, hey, I'm going to do it, to when I do it. That gives me enough time to study and really dig in. All of these sessions have been helpful, but once I set the date, that gives me something concrete on the calendar that I look at and go, I really need to get ready for this. And so over the next now 3 weeks or so, I'm going to be doing things like going through the Atlassian learnings again. They also have an Atlassian learning a little bit like how to prep for the exam. So a little bit of extra, did you know, hey, you should go check this out. I'll back up one, prepare and study. They have these prep resources down here. And these are extra courses, but they call out exam hints. Things that you really should know. And if they're on here, you should definitely take time to study these. And I'm going to go through and study these to make sure that I have them. Tonya, you kind of beat me to it. Other tips for the exam. These sessions are great. Get hands-on. Go find a Jira instance you can play with. Get a free one. Use one at work. I'll see if I can copy this. These study prep resources that I promise I will spell right, resources. These will be very useful because, again, this will call out for specific parts of the exam, specific things Atlassian thinks you should know. And then at the bottom, they give you example questions. So this will give you a feeling of what the exam is actually like, like what kind of questions pop up, and then give you detailed information over, is it correct? In the middle, they've got specific learning things you can go do and go learn from to improve your knowledge. If you're like, hey, I didn't know that. Or if you don't do well in these questions, you can review specific targeted information. This by no means is going to give you everything you need, Tonya, but it's going to be a great starting point. And you can see there's a whole whack of them that'll help. The free one can be useful, but it won't have apps. I use a free one that doesn't have apps attached. Yes. I see what you're saying here. Your own free instance will be a stock version, a blank version of Jira. So it won't be like your organization's. So welcome, Tonya. So if you have apps or marketplace things installed, those won't be there. And that can be helpful because Atlassian's only worried about basic Jira. It's not going to ask you about how does this app work? So getting your own blank instance is a great starting point. All right. I think, what am I looking for here? That's about all the time we have right now. We've got a few more sessions. Want to say thank you all for joining me in this study arc. This has inspired me to do more. On Fridays, I'm doing Jira Software Project Essentials. So jump in and join those, and I'll keep doing the associate levels on Fridays and the professional levels on Mondays. But let me know what you want. Scott, you're welcome. Kari, thank you for continuing to jump in and share your knowledge. Please find me on LinkedIn. I try and do daily updates. And of course, on YouTube, you'll see me doing weekly updates and then the live sessions. And check out that Discord. It's been a fun group. We're starting to get a little bit more traction and some more great ideas and things kind of floating around in there. So thank you all again. I'll drop one last link in here to the Discord just so you all have it. And otherwise, I'll see you all next week or maybe sooner. I'm doing a session on Jira Search tomorrow. I've got one on marketing in Confluence on Thursday and then ACA on Friday. So thank you all so much. I got to go find my beautiful opening video and I will kick that thing off. So have a great weekend. Have a great weekend. Have a great week. And I'll see you all soon.